all the things that make for a good relationship. Mostly we think, I really have to be attracted to someone in order for me to be in relationship with them. Well, attraction is another myth. Being attracted to someone isn't what makes for great relationships. You know, how many times you say, oh, he's not my type, or I'm not attracted to her, or she's not my type. You might want to go after that person anyway. Let's look at that, because the myth is, if I'm attracted to someone, if they're my type, then that relationship is right for me. And I can only be with someone I'm attracted to. It's related to chemistry, but it's actually, there's something more to this. And oftentimes, who we're attracted to is not necessarily who's the best for us. And in fact, it's often the opposite. I know many, many people, myself included, who in the past have been attracted to people, really turned on by people that didn't end up being a good match, being a good fit. They really weren't good for us, but we were turned on by them or attracted to them. Think about it for yourself. Chemistry is part of it, but it's something else. If you can get to the root of underneath of why you're attracted to this particular person, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is it, this is this person. But what the scientists are finding is that attraction is most often an unconscious response to people who unknowingly to us, we're not conscious of this, it's an unconscious response we're not aware of, that represent aspects of our relationship with our parents. So how this works is that we develop, in our early childhood, we develop an unconscious pattern of what love looks like, what it feels like from our early relationships with our parents, from the first loving relationship that we had. Our earliest love object were our parents, our mother and our father. And whatever love felt like with them is what we think love is. And it's what scientists call our attachment schema. And what that is, it becomes a template for our relationships for the rest of our lives. John Bowlby, who theorized attachment theory, said that this attachment pattern follows us from the cradle to the grave, all the way through our lifetime. And it determines who we're attracted to as adults. Because we wouldn't feel or sense something as love unless it felt like what we experienced as love in the first place. This isn't something intellectual, it's not something we think about, it's just something our behavioral systems respond to. And the stronger the attraction, the more they represent the quality of our parents, our mother or our father, or its mirror image. And it's fascinating to start to understand this more fully. Most of us don't want to really know, oh my gosh, I'm attracted to this man because he reminds me of my father. I'm attracted to this woman because she reminds me of my mother. But at some level, there's truth to that, because that's our first imprint of love. And if it didn't feel like that, it wouldn't feel like love to us. And this attraction is also, according to Harville Hendricks, unconsciously triggered by this deep desire that we all have to kind of complete or repair our early childhood patterns. So some part of us wants to complete that pattern, wants to fill that out, wants to complete that developmental need. And unconsciously, we're allowing ourselves to have this attachment schema, these feelings come up so that we can become more aware if we're conscious of it. But think about this. If I know a woman who had a pretty distant father, he was kind of uninvolved in her growing up times, he wasn't that affectionate with her, and she unconsciously equates love with distance. So she's attracted to unavailable men. Another person had a very domineering mother who was very controlling. So he felt like if a woman needed to be controlling for him to be attracted to her, otherwise it didn't feel like she loved him. At the same time, that domineering, controlling part of the relationship was very difficult for him. He would resent it and be upset about it. At the same time, he was attracted to it. Chances are there's some part of you that has these mechanisms going on as well, because it's part of every single human being. I know another woman who had her father was abusive in many ways, treated her rather cruelly, kind of distantly. And so as a little girl, that's what she thought love was. So she's been attracted to men that are not very nice to her, that are a little bit dismissive or demeaning to her, or sometimes even cruel to her. But otherwise, she wouldn't feel like it was love. So when you look around at your friends and you go like, why are they attracted to that person? Or why is he with her? Why is she with him? Chances are it's this attachment schema, this thing from our past that's being triggered in relationships. And because of that, sometimes we are often attracted to people that aren't that good for us, that actually could even be bad for us. And you know, if sometimes people say like, oh, she makes me crazy, or oh, he makes me crazy. Well, if you stay with that person, you might feel like you might have that crazy feeling the whole time, really kind of stirred up, because it won't bring you the security that it is that you really desire. And it's important for us to realize this, because if we understand what's underneath that, we can become more conscious about it and not just be at the effect of these unconscious urges, this unconscious part of our history. And we can shift that. We can learn more about how to create relationships and sense love with people that are different from our early childhood template. But that takes some conscious work, and that takes some real self-discovery to be able to understand what that is and to work with that. But do be aware of that there is a part of that early patterning of what we thought love was in our earliest experience that still plays out in our days today. And whoever you're turned on by, attracted to, has something to do with your past, not just the present moment. And then oftentimes, if the attraction starts to fade, it might be time then to really work the deeper issues that attracted you to that person in the first place, to really understand your own history, and to really understand how do we develop a more genuine, authentic attraction that's not just based on some unconscious material from our past. So if we look at this, and as we've looked at it in the Heart of the Fight in our work with couples, and other researchers have looked at, it's that attraction, yes, it does occur, but something else is really important. If we can really learn how to engage fully in a relationship, really get to know another person, really knowing someone is to love them. Because the more we know someone, it builds attraction. We don't have to have that first flush of, whoa, I'm so attracted, I'm so turned on. Someone who maybe you weren't attracted to, yet you're friends with him or her, you talk more, you share more, you get to know them more. Oftentimes attraction starts to build from that, where you weren't initially attracted to that person in the first place. That friend, that might be someone that's actually better for you. So this is something to experiment with, because it's engaging fully and getting to know someone that actually builds an attraction that's not that instant attraction, that instant turn on. There was a fascinating study, it was done by Arthur Aaron, and he had two strangers get together, meet one another, and he gave them a list of 36 questions. And each question was kind of a reciprocal self-disclosure. One would share something about themselves, the other would share something about themselves, they'd go to the next question, and it would just keep going a little bit deeper with each question. And after these two total strangers answered these questions, and at the end of the 36 questions, they spent 4 minutes just looking at one another. And through that experience, the 36 deeper questions, the 4 minutes of just being with one another, most of them felt that they had a sense of love for the other person. So that's interesting. Two strangers getting to know each other, and the attraction builds through their getting to know themselves and one another and revealing themselves more fully to one another. So attraction can build with engagement and deep knowing of another person. So don't think it has to be that instant thing. The instant thing may not be the one that's good for you. The one that you can build through that kind of discovery, that might be way more interesting and more fulfilling for you. Forget the myth of attraction. Build deeper relationships instead.